This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, and tonight's episode is Assembled, or to be more specific, Marvel Studios Assembled, Season 1, Episode 1, The Making of WandaVision. Join Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bentley, and more to go behind the scenes of the groundbreaking series WandaVision.
Did you just call him Paul Bentley?
Bettany. I call him Paul Bentley because he reminds me of the Jefferson's neighbors.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
And that was probably Bettany, too, the whole time. And it was Bettany all along. Stars, Asif Ali, Kristen Anderson-Lopez, Christopher Beck. See full cast and crew. Asif Ali, Kristen Anderson-Lopez, Christopher Beck, Paul Bettany, Balin D. Bilets, Gavin Borders, Tara DeMarco, Kat Dennings, Ithamar Enriquez. That's the commercial man. Kevin Feige as himself, Catherine Hahn, Jillian Hillard, Jet Klein, David Lengel, Mary Livanos, Robert Lopez, Elizabeth Olsen, Randall Park, Tiana Paris, David Payton, that was Herb, Evan Peters, Jolene Purdy, Deborah Jo Rupp, we all remember her, Max Schaefer, Matt Shackman, Josh Stamberg, Jen Undero, Mark Worthington, John Favreau, Chris Hemsworth, Fred Malamed, Chris O'Dowd. Oh, why did I not notice Chris O'Dowd was in this?
Chris Hemsworth?
Chris O'Dowd.
No, but you right, but you said two names before that. Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth. Archive footage.
Ah.
So he shows up in. Oh, that's right, because Chris O'Dowd was in the scene from Thor: The Dark World where Kat Jennings broke in. So it was archive footage. That's why. Anthony Russo, Joe Russo, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and, of course, the infamous Joss Whedon.
Especially this week.
Yeah, well, you know. Sean Risigliano was our director of photography, and additional crew was Jim Velasco, hardest working person in show business, post-production coordinator, and technical operations. All right. That is a mouthful of people. And this was a mouthful of a show, to be honest. Oh, man. There's so much in this. First off, what is your favorite? Well, here, I'll go first. One of the things I found the most fascinating was that they painted Vision blue for the black and white sequences.
And that they often use that in old sitcoms for lipstick and other things where the shade needed to relate to the audience as red. I was like, that's fascinating.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is one of the most fascinating things about this, is that they really, and again, just to show the love and the care that they put into these things, how they get the feel. I was really disappointed we actually did not get, because we do know they did bring Dick Van Dyke on to consult on this. We did not get a scene with Dick Van Dyke. I was very disappointed. I was really hoping for that, but I guess they didn't want to take away from it. But, because again, I'm telling you, he would make a great Monaco Prince of Magic. He would be so perfect for that role. Look at Monaco Prince of Magic. You're going to say, "Oh wow, Dick Van Dyke," and I didn't even know it was him. But I do want to say, like, that is what's really fascinating. Just the fact that, you know, when you're shooting in black and white, it's not just a color swap. That you can shoot in black and white, but you have to shoot in a way that's going to read the colors to the black and white interpretation, which is a brilliant concept when you think about it, and stuff you never think about. It's sort of like when they point out that, actually the Addams Family living room is pink, because it would have looked weird if it was like all black and gray, because it wouldn't have had the vibrancy of a well-lit sitcom black and gray. So it's really fascinating, the choices they made for that. And then when we get to, they're talking about the special effects, and that were really practical effects for those 50s and 60s things. Because, of course, and as luck would have it, the guy who was doing their special effects says, "Oh no, actually, I studied under the people that did Bewitched. So yeah, I know all about how to do wire magic in a sitcom. How to hide the wire, how to make it float through the air so that it looks like it's floating on a wire. I mean, just that kind of stuff that they knew what they wanted, and then they just found the people that could do it. They found the best." This is one of the things, and this is where, because it was said that this was Kevin Feige's baby.
Right.
This is what I say about a producer, and this is why producers are way more important than people think. Because people just think, oh, the producer, they put up the money, they put their name on it. No. And if that's the kind of producer, maybe some people have producers like that, but on a really good show, what you find is that producer is the person whose art form is the manipulation of other artists. So
I wouldn't call it manipulation. I would call it the plying.
Well, yeah. Well, that's what I mean. So it's essentially, and this goes to,
much like a director directs the cast in how to, bring to fruition his vision. Yeah. The same thing is done by the producer on a broader level on the people that are involved in the mechanization of the process.
So, and the reason why I use manipulation is this idea that, a musician manipulates sound, a writer manipulates words. I just think
that word is fraught with connotation that a word like Klein could do without carrying that sort of,
And to be fair, I sort of take that somewhat from Alfred Hitchcock, who very famously said, actors are the paint upon which I paint that I use upon my canvas.
Right.
Which was also kind of seen to be kind of diminutive of the actors that, to Hitchcock's view, they were just paint,
No, but I mean, when I was in acting school and I was working with a director that I trusted and that I admired, I would say to him, look, I am your utensil, Mm-hmm. Use me to get your vision. And I understood that as an actor, that was my responsibility. And
exactly.
With which I can play, but that's an important understanding to have.
Yeah,
and the director gets out of the people working there is saying, yeah, we're all commonly aligned on this vision, and I will bring all of myself to bear to make that happen. How do you get people motivated to do their best aimed in that direction? And that's what a good producer does.
Exactly. And it is finding the personalities that are going to mesh, finding people that are going to work well together, finding people that are going to build out this universe well, I mean, for what it's worth, like I said, it is kind of surprising in its own way that for as much derogatory stuff as Joss Whedon gets for Age of Ultron as an artistic piece, we have not gotten the Justice League level accusations, or even the Buffy, or even the Buffy and Angel level accusations that we've gotten about Joss Whedon, which really shows how Feige really understood what he could do and what he couldn't do, and where Joss Whedon could be applied properly. I think that's the idea. It's like, how do you point this person in the right direction, give them people that he doesn't have to yell at, and even if he is a horrible person, at least get him to make you good art, And that's the thing. It's like, how do you thread this needle?
Yeah.
And, and he did it. He did it with Avengers, and I think he actually did it with Age of Ultron. I think Age of Ultron gets a lot of flack it does not deserve.
I was one of those people that hated that movie. I used to argue with my friends about it. One of my friends was a big fan of it. I was like, how could you like that movie? And then one day I just sat down and casually watched that movie. And the scene where they're fighting in the forest, the paintings that he builds in between the fight scenes where everybody's like coming across, and like the old X-Men cartoon where they're coming across the scene at each other, kind of like that. And I was like, my God, like, they gave us that, like a live action version of that, you know, grotesquely grand violence kind of thing. And I was like, man, I should be grateful for it. Why am I complaining about nitpicky things? And after that, I really appreciated the hell out of that movie.
Yeah.
Everything visually in that movie is everything comic books and cartoons that we wished we could see when we were kids. And they gave us that, and for that, I was supremely appreciative. I really loved that movie after that. And not to say, Ultron was a phenomenal villain, really
well acted,
incredible villain.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, it's Ultron. You know, and that's the thing. I think that as the stories, and here's what I'll give you. I think that a lot of times these things will age better, because they're going to have much more of a nostalgia quality to them, and we're going to see where other things led from it, you know? It is like, you know, you go back and you read, you know, some of the early Fantastic Four, some of the early Avengers. Sometimes they seem a little corny and clunky. But I do understand how this built out into this universe that evolved greater things from it. Which is why I say, you know, I think that one of the best things that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is giving us is this idea that they are not killing their babies. They're saying, you're part of us, you know. You were under our banner. Like, even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., all this stuff. We may not talk about them right now. They may not be showing up in our stories. But I don't think we're going to get a Luke Cage that's not going to be acknowledging what happened in Luke Cage. I don't think we're going to get a Cloak and Dagger that doesn't acknowledge what happened in Cloak and Dagger. Because that is what the fans have understood. That is what is established. And I don't think there is an appetite to just throw it out. You know? Because it's like, well, no, this was the story that got written. And so you have to live with the story that you wrote. And even if you don't like what they did, it's your job to write it better the next time. And I think that's what we get with the Darkholme in this, which is maybe they didn't like what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did with the Darkholme, but they don't have to discount Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know how closely Runaway, I don't know if Runaways ever actually made direct reference to it except for using the Darkholme. I don't know if there was ever a Captain America reference in it, in the same way that, like, for example, Luke Cage directly references the MCU all the time. You know, although weirdly enough, never references the Hulk in Harlem. But I always felt that was probably because that was a little too real. Aliens invade downtown, yeah, we can talk about that. But up in Harlem, when the Hulk came through, that was a much more personal event. Maybe that's not that would be like, you know, selling 9/11 tchotchkes at Ground Zero, which they do, but for the tourists. Yeah, it's a little weird, but
yeah,
you know, but that was the thing. But then again, you also get the fact that as much as people will say Incredible Hulk isn't canon, it gets referenced by the Avengers repeatedly. In fact, to the point where Mark Ruffalo in the first Avengers says, "Yeah, last time I was in New York, I kind of broke Harlem." You know. Although, as people could point out, he didn't really break Harlem. It's like, you know, he accelerated urban renewal. You know, there's only so much he could do. But and for what it's worth, you know, the Hulk actually was relatively light on property damage. Mostly he smashed up cop cars, which is, you know, fair enough. Which, you know, hey, maybe that's not even a bad thing. But getting back to Assembled, so we get this whole idea of how they're stringing this story together and how they really brought this team of unique individuals, specialists in their field, together to do this. And we actually get the fact that, you know, all of the musical cues, which is by the couple that wrote the hits in Frozen, which is like, you know, talk about that is like musically Disney royalty. You're literally getting the biggest acts in Disney to come do this TV show.
And didn't the 90s version get written by, I forget who the artist was, the punk rock version?
I forget her name, but the original Riot. They called her the original Riot Girl, and I don't remember what her name was.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got a great, they really pulled in. Although I liked the fact that, as they said, the what's his name? Because I just mentioned him a few minutes ago, but it was I think it was Christopher and Kristen are Kristen and Anderson Lopez. Was it Kristen Anderson Lopez and was it Christopher Beck? I can't quite remember, but that basically one of them was actually Matt Shakeman's old college roommate, and then you also got just Matt Shakeman's history as he actually was a sitcom kid, right? Not dissimilar to what Elizabeth Olsen grew up with, just going with her sisters to set. So it is interesting that that you do have this child star royalty that are on the Ron Howard side of child star royalty. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the dream. That is, again, where Disney and Feige are bringing together the pieces that work well, that make this a viable product.
Yeah, you definitely got the sense that they were having a lot of fun. It reminded me of, drama club in college. You'd get to do like these little offbeat kind of things. And the fact that they were there in front of a live audience looked like it made it really a good time for them as well. Because Paul Bettany, at first he's like, man, I haven't been in front of a live audience in, 100 and whatever years.
Yeah, since 1887.
But then you see him at the end of like the cast, he's just like really like, in the moment, taking bows, enjoying being in front of the audience, and that sort of a feeling of camaraderie between a cast on a live set is something very different that I don't think you get a chance to get. And for them to be able to find that old, student actor version of themselves in this moment was really, really fun to see.
Oh yeah, but again, that is the thing about like the Marvel connected universe, that it is this little clubhouse of actors and writers and directors, and they all get to they're all on the lot, and they all work together, and they all are putting on they're putting on this semester's big what's the semester show,
it really felt that way. And my favorite thing, I think my favorite tiny little 2-second scene in this entire thing was Catherine Hahn is up on the pulley system, and she's like, no, one more, let me do one more take. That sort of feeling, that was so wonderful to see. That made me smile really, really big.
Yeah, and you see them, and like when they're doing the Agatha All Along cuts, and you actually see her, like the outtakes where she just totally goes out and she like throws the dog. And it's just because it's like, have fun. Yeah. Let's see what we can create that's organic and real, and that is not just make your 9/11 face. That is not just pushing people into these holes. It's like finding the artists that can make their own art, and that will make good art next to the art that you're making. And that, I think, is and it's kind of funny because it's one of these things where Kevin Feige is central to Marvel's success, but not because Kevin Feige is making it a success, because Kevin Feige knows how to bring artists together to let them make a success. So that even when they have an off episode, an off day, he's not like, you're ruined, you're dead in this town, Right, he is saying, okay, great. So it didn't make as much as we wanted to do, but we told a story, and we're going to bring it back later. Don't worry.
Right, and we're still all aimed in the right direction. I guess his strength is finding people that are all aiming in the right direction. So wherever they go, even if they falter this way or that way, we're still all aiming in the right direction.
And that's what makes it great. That's what makes it a good show. And, at the end of the day, that's always what we want, is a good show. We want to come away from these thinking, I enjoyed it. I was a part of this, And that is, again, what they even make this point is like, we put things in here because we know how our fans are. We know how our fans love to go through these things, love to look for Easter eggs, love to wonder why this is and why that is. And really, they said, we wrote this to have that. Maybe not Mephisto every week. Maybe not, maybe not as far as we took it. Although it was a very good analysis of it as to why Evan Peters was recast as Quicksilver. And
I still don't terribly understand the reasoning behind it. If it was just a goof, it's like, man, really? Well, that's a big leap to make for a goof.
The idea was they wanted to do a recasting of Quicksilver.
I know, but like...
no. I can actually... It actually made sense when they explained it to me.
Okay.
Essentially, by casting Evan Peters, we as the audience would immediately understand that this recasting was Quicksilver. Like, if they had cast some other guy with white hair, we would be like, well, clearly that's not Quicksilver.
I mean, for a hot second, until she said, that's my brother. And then everything would have been the same. I mean, like, it seems like such a...
Well, because it puts...
far-reaching step to take for something they could have accomplished with maybe a half a second of extra exposition.
Well, no, but you want to show, don't tell. Always remember that.
I know, but I mean, but that rule is minuscule compared to the rule they break in this. Is like managing expectations, putting so much on there and not having it deliver. Like that has to be way outbalanced by the idea of show don't tell. It's like I think.
Well, okay, let me put it to you this way: would you have shared Wanda's confusion about it?
Yes.
If they had cast anyone else.
Yes, because it's not the person we know. It's not the person that we know that she knows.
I know, but except. It's not the idea that it's a confusion of, I don't think this is my brother. It is a confusion of, I think this is my brother, but part of me isn't sure. And the idea was, if we cast Evan Peters in this, everyone knows Evan Peters played Quicksilver. So everyone's going to be looking at this and going, could this be Quicksilver? And yes, obviously... And again, like I said, this wasn't supposed to be the first one. So I think they were thinking, oh yeah, by this time we've had a lot of crazy things. And this is really our craziest show. So
Fair
this
enough.
is, I think that
it's hard to reconcile. I understand that with everything so meticulously done with everything else about the show, this decision seems rather haphazard. And there must be a logical reason for it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
like I said, I think the logical reason was to communicate to us.
Yeah, I just...
It was meant to confuse us. It was meant to make us think this really could be real.
I still don't think I understand what the motivation was. That doesn't seem like a strong enough motivation for somebody to do something that outlandish. I feel like there's a deeper understanding that I'm not seeing.
Yeah. Well, so here's what it comes down to. From the perspective of the show story of why is Ralph Bohner made Quicksilver, it does not... Ralph Bohner in and of himself wouldn't convince us that it was Quicksilver, that it was really Peter Maximoff.
Right, but I think it would have done just an adequate enough a job as this did if she would have said, it's my brother, and been like, whoa, it's not your brother.
No, but she doesn't say it's my brother. He says, well, she does later. And
in that moment, that's how they end it. Goes,
he says...
in the next episode, they come back and say, it's my brother.
What, can't a brother hug his stinking sister? And then, of course, when you get his dialogue where it's like, I'm I'm just here to give you grief. Because, of course, grief, it's all about grief. And what is grief but love persisting? Yes, it was grief all along. What exactly did that statement mean?
Oh, what is grief but love persevering?
Well, it means that the love you have doesn't end just because the person ended.
I see.
You lost them, but that love continues. but it becomes like it's not a good way to describe it in electricity terms, but it's like, where you're sending this out there, but it's not echoing back. So it's like it's you shouting out your love, because like normally you send out love and you receive that love back from this.
It's like the Voyager probe.
Right.
It's out there and it'll keep going.
It'll keep going.
Even after we can't hear it anymore, it will keep going.
Yeah, and it'll persist. It'll persist shouting out to us. Just as love continues to shout out once that person can no longer send back the message of acknowledgement.
Right.
And we get into that loop of please respond, please respond, please respond, and man, that's making me tear up right now. Just the idea of the please respond, and then there is no response coming, and that is love persisting. It's beautiful. What are you going to do? And this is again that humanity, that character of what WandaVision gave us. It's technically beautiful. It's, it was small scale, sure, although they do, of course, get to their big wizard fight at the end, or witch fight, and then, of course, your Ship of Theseus thing and that whole thing. We've talked about all that, but what makes it important is that, like Not Sure said at the end of Idiocracy, that someday there will be films where whose ass is farting and why. I think that, or whose balls are getting punched, and that is the achievement. That it doesn't. We all love to see the big thing, but we want to know why, and we want to know the feeling behind it. And I think that's the beauty of Marvel, is they're going to give us space laser beams because, hey, it's a movie. We need a space laser beam. We need a big thing going up into the sky because that's the conceit of the movie. But they tell us why the space laser beam is going up and why the wizards are fighting. It's not enough for just two people to punch. We want to know why they're punching and then why they stop punching. And it can't because they happen to have the same named parent. It's there should be a reason. And for what it's worth, Marvel seems to always give us a reason, and I like that.
Yeah.
Oh man. So it was a great. I love this assemble thing. I hope we're going to get one for Falcon Winter Soldier. Which
I think that's the plan. That between the week or so that we'll have between new shows premiering and current ones ending.
Oh yeah,
that they'll fill the week in between with these. And
I'm sure we'll get one when they release Black Widow too.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
So they'll do a Black Widow assembled, and then they'll do a Loki assembled or an Eternals assembled, whichever one is the next thing to come.
And then somebody will eventually watch these in chronological order and be like, okay.
Yeah, well, and then you figure out how all the pieces fit together,
Another game to play.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's the thing, is there always going to be there's all these pieces moving. And for what it's worth, and this was actually my favorite line from Kevin Feige recently, where, someone was asking about, Chris Evans returning as Steve Rogers. And he basically said, well, I don't have any plans for that right now, but I don't know everything. Which I think is one of these beautiful statements about the guy who is arguably in charge of everything. But for him to just say, no, I don't know everything. I don't know exactly where we're going in 10 years. And, there are other people involved in this. There are writers that are going to pitch me, here's how I want to bring Captain America back. And there's a lawyer that says, here's how you're going to get Chris Evans back. And there is an agent and all these people that are going to work together to actually achieve these things. But until you have someone to first pitch the idea, have them like the idea, and have Chris Evans like the idea to come back, however it's going to be, that's when you get to move forward.
Right.
And that's the idea, is like, you don't just get to, because again, it's about, It's about respecting who you have in the field, about respecting your artists, because they're all artists, from the guy who says, no, I know how to do wire effects, of course, and the makeup artist who says, no, you know what, you want to paint him blue, because that's how that's going to read in black and white. And the people who know their craft so well that you can just say, okay, well, you tell me how to do it. This is what we want to do. How do we do it? And they bring it all in. And, how do you do sitcom acting? Which is such a beautiful question, because it's the kind of question a lesser production would never ask. That is there a different way that you act in this kind of a style of acting? It's like, yes, of course there is. Of course there is. It's the same. It's the difference between, opera and musical theater. It's completely different styles of acting. It doesn't mean that both aren't beautiful and artistic, but you can't, it's hard to go from one to the other. Or to be more specific, it's not hard, but you have to be good. You have to be a master of the craft to move between things, It's what they always say, Picasso, he could paint beautifully, realistic paintings. But, anyone, or not anyone, but lots of people did realistic paintings. He needed to express himself in a different way. And he needed to show that, it's not about painting in the Cubist fashion just because I can't paint anything else. It's about, no, I already mastered this. Now how can I expand the art form? And the idea that you can do sitcom acting, that it's not just the same thing as doing Broadway acting or doing, theater acting or doing movie acting. That these are all very unique skills, and, if you don't know how to do it, you're not going to do it, And that they have enough respect for the art that they're going to be creating to send their people in and say, no, we need you to learn how to do this. Make sure that you know it, because it's as important for you to be able to deliver a comedy line in a 3-camera format as it is for you to have abs of steel. All of these pieces, we're going to have someone to help you get there, because we respect what we're trying to create enough to not say, oh yeah, go to the gym, get in shape, do it, go watch some sitcoms, follow up. It's like, no, read the comics, learn who these characters are, because we want you to embody them when you go up on screen. And, one of my favorite bits in this is Elizabeth Olsen saying, when she first did this, they said, don't, read the comics, but don't worry, we're not going to put you in the leotard, we're not going to put you in that. But then she's like, but when I got to wear it, that gave me so much joy that I got to be the comics accurate, at least somewhat comics accurate Scarlet Witch. That, it made her so happy to do that, And then, when they actually reveal the final Scarlet Witch outfit with the Wimple, and, the Wimple as a part of being the Scarlet Witch, it was really such a beautiful, that's the thing she wears. Apparently that's what that's called, is a Wimple, is the thing. Usually you wear it with something else, but I guess, just having that thing as the Wimple part, and then they just don't put the, I don't know.
Sort of like a nun kind of thing?
Exactly. Yeah. So that part that goes here is the Wimple, and then you will often have something else that goes over it, but just to have the thing that pulls the hair back is the Wimple.
Huh. Interesting.
If I recall correctly, and I could have just been using Wimple completely wrong, and everybody said, that's not what a Wimple is. A Wimple is actually this part here. It needs this. So this is actually just a barrette, and
right.
It's entirely possible. I could be wrong, but it's just a scrunchie. But I love the fact that they incorporate it, and they find a way to incorporate it by the end, and a reason to have it be there. It's like when Hela gets her big helmet, when Loki has his big helmet, you understand why
they're like fans cosplaying at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's that,
and that's the thing. At this point, Elizabeth Olsen is a fan,
right?
Like I say, the real thing that Marvel does right is they get people. They either get people who are fans, or they find people who are interested in becoming fans. Because by the end of it, all these people are reading the comics, and they're all talking about it in terms of, I love this story that we did. Can we look at how can we have Falcon do this, and how can this happen, Yeah. And when we get to Falcon and Winter Soldier, there's so much to unpack on that show, but we'll get to that next. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with this episode, Mozz? Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I didn't really glean too much new information, but for me, it was just kind of nice to see the actors relating to each other and how much care they put into the show, and that was the most enjoyable part for me.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, it was just it was a beautiful story told, and it was just like I said, it was how they assembled it, how all these pieces fit together. And honestly, now, as with so many other things, I am so excited to see the next one. Not only because I love these stories, but I love to see how they got put together. How, this is just nerd candy now. This is like my...
And it seems like, especially after seeing the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, that WandaVision sort of kicked off like our beginning of exposition about what coming back from the blip has done to the world. And
exactly.
The shattering after effects of everything. And we're going to get to see a lot more of that. It seems like that's where we're heading.
Oh, yeah. And, well, because it makes sense when you think about it, that, you have, like, in a way, it kind of even makes sense that now they actually are in chronological order, because WandaVision takes place a few weeks after the blip. Falcon Winter Soldier takes place a few months after the blip. And it's just that idea that, we are definitely, this is what happens when the world changes. And this is how you have to deal with it. And, sometimes you find out that in your absence, people have been doing things you're not too happy about, as Wanda found. And that
the idea of the supply chain of resources being devastated so drastically, and then learning to cope with it over 5 years to feed, 4 billion people, and then all of a sudden that system that's standing on, peg legs holding little things up gets taxed doubly so.
Oh yeah.
And how do we deal with that?
Oh yeah, no. And
I hope we get a deeper exploration of all those ideas, because that's a fascinating sociological sort of thing to think about. Now, I think that'll be really interesting if we get a whole lot more explanation and exposition.
I will say this: not since Teen Titans Go has applying for a small business loan been so engaging. Teen Titans Go does a lot of educational episodes about real estate, but that's when we get to Falcon Winter Soldier, which we'll get to in a few minutes. We'll get to it in a few minutes. You'll get to it in about a week, but I mean, where we're going next with this is going to be interesting and beautiful. And like I said, I really feel that there is a reason these stories are dominating right now, because I do think they are these real human stories that seem to be really able to understand the world and write about what the world is going to be and is, even as things are moving through. Like, it always seems prescient, but it's really like, no, we just read about, what would be the ridiculous version of what we're going through now. And then, of course, our world is so ridiculous now that eventually we catch up with the
right.
It's like, oh wow, quarantines and it's interesting how it all works out. But anyway, okay, Mozz, I hope you've been able to enjoy this show.
Indeed.
I hope that our listeners have been able to enjoy this show. Now, I know a lot of our listeners, like me, you just go to that dollar store, get those dollar store headphones, because what do you need more than just a dollar store headphone to listen to a thing? You just keep on replacing it and replacing it and replacing it, because it's only $1. But when you think about it, by the end of the year, you've spent, depending on how many times you had to buy new headphones, you might have just been better ahead getting a good set of quality headphones that are going to last you 4 or 5 years for half the price of what you're going to spend in that time. And if you go to tweakedaudio.com, you can do that and use the coupon code Southgate to get a discount on what you're buying. So that seems like a pretty practical idea from my perspective. Likewise, you can use that same coupon code if you like deals, which most people do. You can go over to hunterkiller.com, use that coupon code Southgate upon checkout and get a discount on the Hunt a Killer product, which is essentially a bunch of puzzles and clues delivered to your house to help you solve a cold case for Michelle Gray. If you were someone who watched WandaVision and liked to connect the dots and think, what could it mean? What does it mean? Why are they hexagons? That's the game for you, because you're going to get those delivered to you, and you're not going to have Marvel Comics to fall back on to help you figure it out. You're going to have to use your own wits and cleverness from what's given in the package to solve the cold case. And if that does or doesn't interest you, you can always go down to our show notes, click on Amazon, our Amazon.com link. Go to Amazon.com, buy whatever the heck you want. I don't care. It's not really my business. And but by clicking on the link in our show notes, it helps out the show. And when you're there, check out Pod Life, the book written by the Southgate Media Crew about being a Southgate Media Crew podcaster. And that's available in both the digital book that is so convenient, and of course the hard copy that you want to keep in your apocalypse bunker for the coming days. When the internet goes down, Gotta plan ahead, Mozz. Always plan ahead, right. Just like Marvel. Yeah. Okay.
The internet is gone. Let's read about a dead medium.
Well, hey. We read about
it'd be history. It'd be history. Right now, this is how people got by treating their existential dread by podcasting.
Yes.
Back in the days when the internet was around.
As a podcaster, I will say it works. It works great. Anyway, Mozz, if anyone does that, if they want to talk about why you podcast, how can they find you?
Well, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Poz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet no longer DuckTales, woohoo. Although, please, go back, watch that final episode, friends. All your answers are there. And then so many more questions. I love DuckTales, man. That was just such a great chef's kiss of storytelling. But I will be live tweeting something soon. I just have to find it. Probably Stargirl when it comes back, because I did really like Stargirl. And very few of the other WB shows are really hitting me yet. Superman and Lois is pretty good. Batwoman is okay. But kind of lost its thread. Honestly, it was better. The show doesn't have a Bullock. And how you do a story in Gotham without Bullock, I don't even know at this point. So, that is my opinion. There's no Bullock, no Commissioner Gordon. I don't even know what you're doing in Gotham at that point, but that's just me. Bullock makes everything better. Okay, but if you would like to follow me on the Twitters, I do live tweet things at Charlie Esser. Oh, wait, I did this, yeah, so at Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
Quality. Ding.
Thank you, Mozz. And hey, Marvel, give me a show to podcast. Or not to podcast, to live tweet. I would love that. So put one on ABC's and I'll go back and watch that because I love to do that. So anyway, all right, yeah, filthy landlubber chef, come along one more time on our grand seafaring, spacefaring, streamfaring adventure. Come back again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arr.